Ooh, did you hear about what they said about you online? Bruh, it's pretty bad. How you gonna deal with it? Should you deal with it? Is there a right way? Is there a wrong way? Let's talk about it. I just want all of my chips. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Artistry Ascending right here at Track Life. I am your man, the meticulously multi-talented Mark W, coming at you one more time yet again. How are you? How have you been? I ain't seen you in a week or so. You good? All right, good. Today, we talk about controversy. If you're an artist and you put something up for public consumption, somebody's gonna have a problem with it. Your opinion is not my opinion. My opinion is not your opinion. And unfortunately, we always feel like somebody gotta be right. And as an artist, that's what we do. We stir up controversy. We shake up the natural order of things. What we're gonna talk about today is a couple examples, see how we can navigate that a little bit better. What should you do? What shouldn't you do? I'm certainly gonna tell you what I do, but ultimately, we wanna offer you some tools and how to navigate that space. Let's talk about it. Can you really call yourself a serious artist if you've never run into any controversy? Personally, I've been doing this for about 20 plus years. That goes without saying that I've gone through my fair share of controversies. I have one story in particular that I'll talk about today. Years ago, I was in this group, I've talked about it before, called Lost Dialect. Before that group, I was in another group. I'm not gonna talk about the name. The members are the same, but there's one person in particular that I don't associate with anymore, which is why we formed Lost Dialect. But in this situation, I am a studio engineer. I have my own recording place, and we all recorded at the same space. Now, as we were going through the motions of putting out our songs and performing across town, one group member in particular was getting noticed by an indie record label. He got the opportunity. Now, that's gonna happen. No shade to that dude. So it was our job to fall in place and push him up front, because inevitably that was gonna trickle down to us. So as he's navigating his deal, as it were, he had the task of recording a solo project. Now on my end, I didn't really get too many calls and get too many bookings for him to start recording his album. Lo and behold, behind the scenes, he was actually telling the label that I was withholding his access to my recording space. I was withholding tracks that he was supposed to turn over to the label. This put me in a very bad light. This now makes me look like I'm not a team player. The label does not want to work with me. I'm difficult. I'm not the one to be around. And ultimately, I need to be pushed out of the way. Yeah, that wasn't a good feeling. I was hot. If this was a different time, we might have had a different type of conversation if you just caught what I did. So what I did was I met it head on. The label called me, asked me what was going on, asked if I was okay. I said, yeah, I'm fine. He said, well, here's the situation. We're not able to get his music. We're not able to record his songs. And we're of the understanding that it's because of you. We're trying to work out the situation so we can get this done because we're under a budget crunch, yada, yada, yada. I say, no problem. Let's have a face-to-face meeting. I come over to the house because at the time they were operating out of a house, and we're dialoguing. Now, in this dialogue, as I'm talking to them, they realized the story that they were being told was not the person sitting in front of them. What they saw sitting in front of them was completely different than the guy in the story that they were being told. When the artist comes in, because I'm not gonna say his name, but when he comes in, because he comes into the tail end of the conversation, he looks a little dumbfounded and he got a whole lot of egg on his face. The controversy ended right then and there because it was known that he was just trying to cover his own ass. But I did a good job at maintaining who I was. Now, that's a low-level controversy, but let's talk about it. What did I do right? What did I do wrong? But before I tell you what I did right and did wrong, tell me what you would have done in the comments. If somebody was lying on you and your career was in the balance, your ability to keep working in the industry hung on the word of somebody else, how would you handle it? Because my initial reaction was to knock dude out, but I really want to know, what would you have done in that situation if you were me? Tell me in the comments. So what did I do right and what did I do wrong? Or better way to put that, the do's and don'ts. Before I get into it, let's have this general understanding. We are artists and we're emotional, naturally. That's what we gonna be. What did Erykah Badu say? I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. That is true across the board. So it's no different when you're in a controversial situation. In fact, you're probably gonna be even more emotional because now who you are as a person is being questioned. So let's get into it. What I don't wanna do is make myself look more negative than this person has already made me look. That means I'm not about to badmouth him. I'm not about to swat him across the mouth. And I'm not about to speak in a way that belittles him to make me come up. Understanding that we're emotional, he was covering his ass. There were things that he failed to do. I feel for that. Sometimes we need a scapegoat. And sometimes we can we can make a scapegoat without them being aware they're being a scapegoat. Now, if you're friends, then you've had this situation where you go like, hey man, I messed up. Or you got somebody on the line like, hey, just tell them I was doing this. And that at least you're in on the whole situation. On this case, I wasn't in on it. I didn't know what he was trying to do. He didn't talk to me. So it just made me look bad to the powers that be. The one who's have the money, the one who has the power to put me in a certain position. So like I said, I'm not going to talk down on him. I'm not going to swat him across the mouth because that doesn't make me look good. Now, what I do want to do is be assertive in how I assess the situation, meaning face it head on. Like I said in the last section, when I came and sat down in front of them, they let me know what the situation was. And when they spoke with me, they realized there was a character difference in the stories that were being told. That goes to say, be who you are through and through. So much so that if anybody says something negative about you, it gets really hard to believe. And then when questioned by other people about who you are, the story can be backed up. If you keep your character intact from top to bottom, there's no way anybody can question who you are. And it does make it a lot easier to deal with controversy. That's how I would have dealt with it. Again, tell me your do's and don'ts of how you would deal with a situation. If you're being talked about in a bad way, what would you do? What would you not do? And how do you protect who you are as a person? Tell me in the comments. I'm gonna meet you there. There is a right way and wrong way to handle controversy. Now, what I give you was an example of face-to-face controversy. That's relatively easy to handle, but what happens when it doesn't stay in the realm of face-to-face and it spills over into social media? That's the real deal right there, where now you're not just subject to how I feel about you. You're not just subject to how other people might feel about you. You're subject to how my fans feel about you, how that other person's fans feel about you. And now you're in the court of public opinion. And there are multiple forms of controversy that we see online. We're only going to talk about 3, and they're pretty big. But the first one, controversial art. Now, this is like Eminem, Marilyn Manson, where your opinion is triggering, whether it be sexuality, whether it be religion, political, it's a trigger response. Ultimately, it doesn't hurt anybody, it just makes people uncomfortable and they don't necessarily want to see it. The other side of that would be the bully or the troll. That's your Tekashi 6ix9ine and your 50 Cent. Now, 50 Cent is more like the dude in the back of the classroom teasing you just enough so that you cry, but the teacher don't get called on. It sucks, but it's kind of harmless and you can kind of get over it. That's what we call developing thick skin. But with Tekashi 6ix9ine, that's pushing the line. That's taking a personal joke a little too far where you get checked in the mouth. You want to stay away from that. Those are trolls, and that's trolling to a whole nother level. Then lastly, morality controversy. That's your Diddy and your Lizzos, where it's what you're doing has real implications on people's lives. We want to stay away from those. But ultimately, what we're talking about is how to navigate the social media space. Now, unfortunately, yes, I've been doing this for 20 years, but if you ever looked at my social media numbers, you'll know I really ain't had that type of pull on social media. So I don't know how to navigate that space that well. But I'm pretty sure a few of you have better numbers than I do. So in the comments, if you have ever been in a social media controversy situation, how did you handle it? Help us out, because we want to get there one day. We all want to get there one day, and we want to know how to navigate that space. Some of you might have better suggestions than I do. How would you deal with controversial art and that coming to light? How would you deal with a bully or a troll, somebody going too far and getting under your skin a little bit? How would you deal with a situation like you see with Diddy, and how would you deal with a situation like you see with Lizzo? Obviously, those are massive extremes, but it happens. In this line of work, you're going to have to deal with people who don't like what you have to bring to the table. Not because you did anything wrong, but just because you are who you are. We're in that type of space. Controversy is inevitable. We must learn how to navigate it. We must learn how to navigate it together in this space right here on Artistry Ascending. As always, if you enjoyed what you heard here today, please make sure you follow us and subscribe to us on tracklife.com. Make sure you follow me, the meticulously multi-talented Mark W, coming at you one more time yet again. How are you? And always come back right here on Artistry Ascending. Make sure you tap in with me. I always tap right back. Peace. All of my